Hi, Nicole here. So today's project, we're going to be making a deck of cards, and we're going to be using the relief printing method to do that. So for this one, you're going to need your paint again, some paper, brushes, scissors. You're going to need a pencil and a sharpener because you really want to make sure your pencil stays very sharp because we're going to be carving into your foam core board. And you're going to need palette paper too. Don't forget that because that's what you put your paint on. So for this deck of cards, we're going to be thinking about all of the different suits and numbers that go into a deck of cards. And as you may know, there's 52 cards in a set, and there's 4 suits, which is hearts, spades, diamonds, and clovers. So first thing I'm going to do is make my 52 cards. I have some cut out already over here, but I'm just going to show you how I cut them out. I take my 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, or any size, and I'm just going to fold it in half once and cut it right on the line. I'm going to fold those 2 halves in half again. And then I'm going to take those 4 parts and cut them in half once more to create a nice rectangle size playing card. Because essentially what we're going to do is be making little stamps that go with each card, and then you're going to create a bunch of cards from that. So the most important things you're going to need is an image for a heart, a spade, which is kind of like an upside down heart with a little tail at the end, a diamond, and then a clover, which is like 3 circles and a little tail at the end. I'll draw them bigger for you over here so you can see. This is a heart, a spade. Here, I'll just turn it around. I'm gonna turn it upside down, make the heart upside down, and then put my little tail, which looks like this. A diamond, and then a clover, which 3 circles. It's like a Lucky Charms 3-leaf clover with a little tail. And then once you have those 4, all you really need to do is make the stamps for the numbers, which is going to be ace, 2, because in a deck of cards you don't have 1. The ace is the 1. Then you got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then after 10 you have J for Jack, Queen, Q for Queen, and then K for King. So the thing about relief printing is it's going to come up backwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to create our designs on this foam by carving it in with our pencil. But because when we print it, we're printing it like this, it's going to show up backwards. So what we want to do is for it to show up the right way, we have to put our image onto the plate first, backwards, so that when we print it, it comes out the right way. And how we're going to do that is there's lots of different ways you can do it. First, I wrote it out the right way on a piece of paper. This is the size I'm going to use. But you can make it bigger if you want. For now, I'm going to use the palette paper because that's what came with the kit that you got. So I'm going to put my palette paper on top of my designs and trace it the right way. So now that I have it on my palette paper, tracing paper, I'm going to flip it around, and now you can see that everything's backwards. So what I'm going to do now is take my foam board, place it down, and place my tracing paper on top of this. And this step is kind of hard because you really want to make sure that you're carving into the foam core So you have to press really hard. And to do it through the paper as well. So that's why I have my sharpener next to me to keep sharpening my pencil in case I need it to be more sharp to cut through. So another thing you can do is use some tape to put it in place so that when you're tracing it and carving it, it doesn't move and slip. So I'm gonna place tape on here and carve my designs. So once you got that carved, I'm going to take it off. And I'm going to look and see if I need to reinforce any of my carvings. So let's say I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, this 3 isn't as deep as I want it. I'm just going to go over it again to make sure that it really shows. Because you can kind of feel it. So now that I have all of my numbers laid out here, I'm going to cut each one of them out with my scissors because I'm essentially just making little stamps to create my set of cards with. Okay, so right before you start printing, now that you have all your pieces made, think about the layout of your card. So usually with traditional cards, you have the number here, and then you have the suit or symbol right below it. And then you flip it around and you do the same thing. There's the 3 and then the heart. Sometimes, or with deck of cards, you'll have 3 hearts right in the middle. You could do that, or you can do 1 giant heart. It's really up to you how you want to make these cards. Another thing you can do is with the Jack, Queen, and Kings that are not numbers, you could even draw your own king or make a symbol of your own that doesn't have to necessarily do with the symbols here. But just remember that each suit has a set of ace through king. So when you're making the cards, I would recommend starting with 1 suit, making sure you have ace through king, and then once you have that done, start with the next suit. So that's what I'm gonna do, is start off, I'm gonna take one of my pieces of paper that I made a card out of, and I'm gonna start with hearts. I'm gonna take a brush and paint onto my stamp. And then I'm gonna put this right in the center because I'm gonna make that first. And then I'm gonna take my number, so this is gonna be my ace. Paint that. And put my ace right over here on the corner. Paint it again, and then I'm gonna flip the card around, paint my stamp again, and put the ace in the corner. So it looks like it filled in really quickly. I would recommend using not that much paint. So when I do this again, I'll probably use less paint. It's really trial and error. If it doesn't show up, another thing you can do is once it dries, you can go back in with marker or Sharpie and go over it just to make sure it shows. And put my stamp on. So I have my ace. I'm gonna set that aside and I'm gonna do the next number, which is 2. I'm gonna take another piece of paper, take my 2, apply a little bit of paint on there, and put it right in the corner. And there you have it. That is my card. You can also add paint to it, maybe make some designs with your pencil or markers. You could do anything, really. So I'm gonna set this aside. That's gonna be my 2. Next, I'm gonna do 3. So now I have my 3. Maybe I'll even go back in and just draw 3 hearts. So you're pretty much going to be doing that for 52 cards, which I know is a lot, which is why I'm like, maybe try to partner up with a buddy and do it, or make it simple so you can get it done within the time frame that you have. You can always ask to see if you can continue the project later, but now that you have your pieces, you can always use them over and over again. That's what's nice about printmaking. So that is our project. Hopefully you can play some games with your deck of cards, and thanks. See you next time. Hope you enjoyed it.